The next part we're going to tackle with controls are the eyes. If I just switch over to a textured decal view, I can actually turn off the wireframe on shaded. You can get a sense of the eyes here. Maybe what I'll do is just give the pupils just a simple quick color. Let's just jump into the materials manager and add just a quick material here. I'll call it the pupil material, and let's just give it a quick black color, and we'll assign it to the two objects we have selected. So I have the left pupil and right pupil selected. I'll select the pupil material and right click and assign to selection. So at least we have a better sense of direction now. Okay, if I select the headbone, move into the Explorer and Objects Only mode and press F, I can open up the headbone object and see that the left eye geo and right eye geo are present as children. If I press the transform key and look at the local transforms of the eye, you can see that we have the x-axis pointing right out of the pupil. Now this is a good thing because the constraint we're going to use, the direction constraint, uses a slave object's local x-axis and will aim it at a control object center pivot out in front of it. Once again, we need to do some lining up, and I don't really like to parent the geometry directly or constrain the geometry directly to a control object, so we're indirectly going to control our geo. We're again going to start with some implicit objects, and for these ones here, I guess I could start with an implicit sphere. So I'll call this the we'll call this, we'll actually just get a null. Null is just used for this kind of thing. I'll take the Match All Transforms tool and match the null to the left eye geo position. So now we've got the null's x-axis, and I'll just make the null's icon. I don't know why this is a little bit of a bug here. I'm on a beta program, a beta version of it. I should probably log that. But let's see if I can find that circle shape. It's probably like 8 or 7. I guess we'll find out if we hit every one of these keys, won't we? Well, I didn't seem to find it. There we go, number 2. It's our number 2 icon. Okay, so I'm just going to size this one down. And this is the left eye parent null. And I'm going to parent it. I'm going to pick the parent, which is the headbone, just so I can bring it in to my hierarchy. I'll actually just mirror it across to the other side. Use duplicate symmetry. I'll use the renamer tool. I'll look for the left and replace it with the word right. And I'll also strip that character 1 off the end, search for the character 1 and replace it with nothing. And I'll parent it to the headbone as well. Parent, pick parent. Now I'm just going to take the left eye geo hierarchy, the right eye geo hierarchy, and drag and drop them under the nulls. So now I'm going to be using the actual nulls to help me control the direction. I can make the size a little bit larger as well. If you wanted to elongate the nulls to help get a better sense of direction, although the eyeballs are going to help tell you which direction they're looking anyways, you could even turn on the shadow icon. So you could turn off the main icon, turn on the shadow icon, and I adjust the size and then use the size and I guess the x-axis, yeah, and the x-axis to make it a little bit oblong so you can see the direction rotating. So, okay, we've taken the time to do it, we may as well use it. And now we'll get these objects to look at something. So I'll get 2 nulls. I'll take one and I'll match the transform to one of the eyes, and then I'll move that null because again the direction constraint looks at uses the x-axis of a slave to look at the center of a master object, so we're perfectly lined up here. I'll just physically turn this one into a box, because that's what I've been using for my constraint icons so far. So we'll call this the left eye constraint. Left eye direction constraint. And I'll mirror it and just run a quick rename on it. For left, rename to right. Look for one, rename to none. So we have our right eye direction constraint. And then I'll constrain the direction of my parent nulls to the eyes. So now, to the eye controllers. So now I've got the ability for my character to look around. I can synchronize the two of them very easily by just getting a null. Maybe what I'll do is just quickly get it to fit between these two objects to put it in the middle. I can just do a quick little cheat here. I'll do a 2-point constraint. Gets it right in the middle there. Of course, it's not very useful to me when it just does nothing. So I'll remove the constraint there, just a quick little cheat. And I'll turn the icon into, let's see, I'll turn off the main icon and I'll turn the icon into a square, or maybe into a box. And I'll just flatten the box a little bit. I'll elongate it in the x-axis, and I'll thin it out in the z-axis. And this would be the eye direction parent null. But also the constraint. So it would be a control object. Again, we'll make that distinction as we go. I'll parent them together. Just I close up the model. I have my three objects, so clearly the left and right eye become children of the eye direction. And I usually just start by taking the headbone and making it the parent of the eye direction. Notice the 0, 0, 0 value of my object, and when I parent it, I get a non-zero zero value. So again, if I want to keep y up in this case when I'm animating relative in the function curves, I'm going to get an object and use it as the parent instead of this bone, so an indirect parent again. I could just get a null, match a null up to my object, so I'll match it to the position, I'll match it to the transforms of my object, like that. And if I then just move it back into the head here, I'll just use it as a zero control. So this one's the actual eye direction parent null. And this is the eye direction control. So this is one of our first control objects. This is the one we'll actually animate on because it is zeroed out. I'll just visually change this icon. For my parent nulls, I've been using the pyramid. Make this object a child of the headbone, so it inherits the non-zero values, and then I'll make the non-zero value parent null object the parent of my control, so the eye direction control. So now this is nice and zeroed out, and I've got a means of controlling the character's eyes. Alright, so accounting for these new objects, this is an unselectable object. So I'll add it to that. And for these ones, we're going to account for their position, rotation, and scaling. And these objects here can be added to the hidden group, because these are directly controlled through my constraints. So I'll add these to my hidden group. And account for these objects here by storing their keyable parameters. Really, actually, I don't really need the scale on these objects here, so I can at least remove that. Scaling the box actually does some good. It actually brings the character's eyes closer together. Her eyes are very wide set. So there we go. We can bring them down a little bit. But again, my bind pose says the eyes are here, so I'm not about to mess with that. So we don't need to account for the scale of these guys. As I said, I hit undo too many times. And for this one, scale does count, position does count, and rotation does count because we can kind of make a dizzy look if we need to as well, just by turning this. Characters' eyes kind of rotate in their heads. So I'll store a new action. Everything should be parented as a child underneath my Malcore model. So I'll do another action. We'll do store keyball parameters, newest rest pose, and just update the actions. This one now becomes the old one. This becomes the new.